So system reports that we just talked about in a little bit ago. Here it is right here if you need to access it again, because as I said, if there is not a system report that that needs your attention, that icon won't appear in the the bottom taskbar area. So it's this is one of the easier ways to pull it up again if you need to. Like if you said, hey, ignore this report, and then maybe you change your mind, you go, oh, okay, maybe I do want to install that. Well, you'd have to go back in the system reports manually, and so you can get to that from the administration here. And again, I'll just reiterate that all this can be accessed from the all applications at the top, so you don't have to necessarily remember like, oh, where was that again? Where was system reports? Was it in administration or preferences? Well, it's all in the all applications. So that's in a lot of cases that would be the easy way to just go, okay, I remember what it was called, but I don't remember where it was. So let me go in here and there it is, system reports, and I thought it was in preferences, but it's in administration. So because especially for these two in particular, preferences and administration, to me those are easy ones to confuse where things are, because they're kind of similar. It's a lot of similar, I feel like, functions and things like that. So it's pretty easy to mix those two up, and so it might be one of those things where you just want to pull it up in all applications. Again, we have access to the terminal here. Time shift, if you need to get to your system snapshots that we covered in the earlier video, this is where you can do that from. Update manager as well, you can access that here manually if you need to. Let's just jump over to preferences here. We've got some accessibility options, and this is more stuff you would find in the system settings, and I'll go over some of that stuff in greater detail in a future video. But here again, we've got, you can change backgrounds, Bluetooth settings, date and time you can adjust here. There's multiple ways to do that as well. You can access the desktop directly. It says manage your desktop icons. So that's a desktop settings that you can change, and we'll look at that eventually. Disks is in here as well, in addition to being in the accessories section. We've got display here, so that's for your monitor if you need to change like the resolution or things like that. And firewall configuration that we looked at briefly in the earlier video, and so on and so forth. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here. Most of these are repeating the settings that you find in the system settings section over here. Let's see here. Is there anything else to briefly go over? Let's see, you can get to the mouse and touchpad if you need to change your mouse sensitivity or anything like that. Your online accounts, if there's anything specific. I don't actually use that one, so I'm not sure, but that's probably a manager you can use inside of Mint itself, I'm guessing. Let's see, panel settings, we'll go into those in a future video as well. So here's a good one, preferred applications. So this is one that's helpful to do. So if you have, for example, say you had Firefox and Chromium both installed as your internet browser, because Firefox is installed by default, so maybe you're more of a Chromium person and you're like, okay, I rather would use Chromium. You can go in here to this preferred applications and click on it, and it actually gives you the options for each thing. So for web browsing, you can say, hey, so right now the only one that's installed is Firefox, so that's what's the default. But if you had Chromium installed, it would show up as here, and you can just select it, and then these are the default programs basically that will open when you do anything related to that. So if you go to open a web page or anything, a saved HTML file or whatever, Firefox will be what opens that, and so for example, with video, the default player is Celluloid, but I happen to prefer VLC myself, so I would actually go in here and change this to VLC, and then in just a second you can see it changes the default player. So now the default video playing software on this system is VLC, and so on and so forth. And even with audio, you can see, oh well, instead of Celluloid, you've got two more options here. You could either choose Rhythmbox, or you can also do VLC. So so that's what you do in here. You can see for each kind of general category of files or file types, it has its own default software, preferred applications. So, and you can change all that in here as well. So it's good to know, just in case you have installed something else, and you're wanting to try to look, well, how do I make this the default, whatever, video player or photo viewer or whatever else. This is where you would be able to do that. And it's got a section here for removable media as well at the top. It says prompt or start programs on media insertion, so you can toggle whether or not you want Linux Mint to do that. And then it's got some options here. It says select an application for audio CDs, for video DVDs, when a music player is connected, when a camera is connected, or it says for software CDs. And then if you have anything else, you can click here and it'll add additional prompts and things like that. But by default, everything will ask you what to do except for the software CDs. It will auto run the prompts. So but chances are you're probably not going to have a software CD that's built natively for Linux, because most of them are for Windows. So that probably won't prompt much, but maybe someday, who knows. But yeah, so if you wanted to say, okay, well, whenever you enter a video DVD, definitely open VLC media player, so it, and then you have that option, or celluloid if you prefer that software for playing videos, or some other application that's not on the list here. By default, it's ask what to do, and then it will prompt you each time. Open folder can be helpful for I believe that's, maybe not so, if you wanted it to, but as I say, maybe not so much in this particular list of options, but generally, like if you entered I'll just say like a flash drive or something like that, and a storage device, a USB external storage device of some kind, it will open the folder automatically in its own thing, and that's where I personally find it the most useful. But if you wanted to use it for a video DVD or an audio CD, if you'd rather, it just opens the directory of it, so you can individually access its components and things like that. You could do open folder as the default. You could also choose do nothing, and it will just not do anything at all until you actually go in and tell the system to do something about with whatever you've inserted. So there's plenty of options, but that's how you can change that as well. So down at the bottom here, we've got this folder here that says places, and this is just common places on your system in the home, basically in the home folder for the most part, but there's also the desktop and this connect to option here. But generally these are all just places that you may easily want to access. More specifically, you could get to almost all this stuff from this home folder here if you opened it, but it's got documents, music, pictures, videos, downloads. If you know right away, like, I want to just go to my videos, you can just go right there from places. And then recent files will just give you a list here of recent things that you've opened and interacted with and anything like that. And if you ever want to clear that list out, you can just hit the clear list button, and it says clear all recent documents. So that's easy to access that. So as you can see, just from this pretty brief overview, comparing it to the Windows, the modern Windows start menu, and how all over the place it seems to be, it's much cleaner, much easier to pretty much access anything you need to, just right from this main Linux Mint menu here. And really, when you boil down to it, you could even remove all these categories from the equation here and just access everything from this single all applications list if you really wanted to. That's how straightforward it ends up being. It's like everything's right here. It's not hidden in 5 different locations, or it is obviously duplicated and accessible in these categories here, but it's definitely just all right here in this one list. So all right, so that pretty much covers the start menu here, I believe, the Linux Mint menu rather, sorry. Get my terminology mixed up between the two operating systems sometimes. If you enjoyed this video and you want to learn even more, you can find my books at books2read.com/Jonathan. That's books, the number 2, read.com/JONATHAN.